Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, the marvelous Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour over 5 years ago in the throes of the pandemic, the official pandemic, that particular pandemic. And we've just been coming back every Wednesday for about 5 years because, we love our stories and we love getting these different wonderful writers to read us their stories. We never run out because there are so many great writers out there. And tonight we have something very special. We have spooky stories from two authors who are new to Story Hour, though not really new overall. So tonight our readers are Marguerite Sheffer and Jennifer Brozek. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to chime in on the text chat. If you're on YouTube, feel free to chime in on the text chat, where you will probably not get anyone talking back to you, but you do you. And let's start. Our first reader tonight is Marguerite Sheffer. Marguerite Sheffer's short fiction has appeared in Asimov's The Cosmic Background, Cast of Wonders, Bomb, Literary Hub, The Dread Machine, and other magazines. Her debut collection, The Man in the Banana Trees, won the Iowa Short Fiction Award, was a finalist for the 2025 PEN America Robert W. Bingham Prize, and was named a Best Debut Book by Debutiful and a Most Exciting Short Story Collection by Electric Literature. You see why calling these two writers' debuts seems silly, right? So at Tulane University, Marguerite teaches courses in design thinking and speculative fiction as tools for social change. She's a founding member of Third Lantern Lit, a New Orleans writing collective, and the Wildcat Writing Group. You can find her online at Marguerite Sheffer and M. Len Sheffer on various social media. And I will also drop those into the chat so you can see them later, or the show notes if you're watching the edited version. Marguerite, welcome to Story Hour.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you, Daniel and Laura.
Sure.
Tonight I'm going to be reading a weird horror story called Local Specialty. You can also find it on LitHub if you're the kind of person who likes to read along like I do. So, Local Specialty. The fog is unreasonable, thick and too chilly for summer on my morning bike ride to Bertha's Breakfast Buffet, where I'm the lead server and manager. When I cross the bridge to town, it feels like I'm about to roll right off the edge of the map. I edge closer to the center of the lane. A car swings out of the fog. By the time I see it, it's honking and swerving, clipping my backpack. I screech to the side. I flip off the car, but it's already sunk back into the gray. Then a much deeper honking, baritone, comes up from underneath me like the earth is honking back at that Lexus asshole, taking my side. The sound shakes the bridge. A tanker. Close. The big ship slinks out from the fog. It's like a cathedral has snuck up next to me, a building bigger than any in town. Massive, wide, tall, and red, with condensation rolling down its immense facade. The tanker is so big, it fills my field of vision. There's some foreign script that makes me think of Cyrillic, almost. I stop pedaling to stare. I've always liked the tankers. They come from so far away. Panama, the Marshall Islands, Liberia, farther away than I've ever been. I scan the rusty castle of the tanker, looking for someone to wave to. There, on a deck so high it's almost lost in the fog, a few skinny sailors are waving back. My light is freaking me out. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's like flashing in the background. It's very perfect for horror. There, on a deck so high it's almost lost in the fog, a few skinny sailors are waving back. I can't make out their expressions, but they are swinging their arms in perfect unison, so perfect it almost looks like a dance. Maybe they are all listening to the same song, only I don't hear any music. Swish, swish, swish. I match their cadence. It's easy. In fact, it's almost irresistible. I don't speak their language, so this feels like the least I can do. Swish, swish, swish. You're stuck in your dead end job, and I'm stuck in mine, halfway around the world. But for a minute, we acknowledge each other. The tanker turns into the narrow channel leading to the port and disappears again. The sailors are still waving as I lose sight of them. I've lingered too long already. I kick off. I aim to get to Bertha's first, lock my bike, unlock the door, punch in the alarm code, and start 3 pots of coffee brewing. From 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., the hours before customers, is my favorite part of each day. Cesar, our high school aged cook, says I am a misanthrope. He's probably right. The restaurant without people in it is so lovely. It will spend the rest of the day devolving into ruin. Syrup on the floors, home fry grime under my fingernails, running out of raspberries. I refill the ketchup bottles and pickles from our supply in the basement. I pull the butter tabs out of the freezer to defrost on the counter. I'm 26 and I don't remember when, but my life has become pocket-sized. Just something I carry with me on my routines, shrunk down by wage labor and rising rent. I peek at it every once in a while before tucking it away again. Back to work. Maybe I should find my way onto a tanker, stow away, and reinvent myself in the Southern Hemisphere. Cesar arrives at 6:50. He nods to me without taking off his massive headphones, lights the griddle, and makes me a breakfast sandwich just how I like it. Canadian bacon, charred English muffin, melted American cheese. It takes 3 nations to make your perfect sandwich, he joked once. It took me a minute. Cesar is smart. He has a favorite poet, and he remembers every regular's orders. He invented a new dish, egg Cesar, which is poached eggs over basil and green peppers and cornmeal cakes. He never gets flustered by a rush. He enjoys the puzzle of negotiating 12 orders all at once with different cook times. He's working at Bertha's to save up for his freshman year at UNH. I'm glad he has a plan. Someone like Cesar shouldn't get stuck here. Cesar puts my sandwich in the window and rings the bell, even though it's just us. It's 7 a.m. While I've been going through my routines, the coffee's finished brewing. 3 dark crystal balls are swirling and simmering. I have to unlock the doors. Jules and his husband Christian are waiting in the alley. No surprises there. They spend their summers here, seasonal regulars. Jules and Christian aren't even that much older than me, but they're in Brooks Brothers while I'm in a washed thin Susie and the Banshees t-shirt. Did you hear, literally or figuratively? Jules asks me. He's an adjunct professor at one of the Boston schools. He and Cesar would have a lot to talk about if Cesar could ever get out of the kitchen. What? I ask. A tanker hit right up on the rocks in the fog. We heard the boom from our rental. My tanker, my sailors. I picture them waving. I hope they are okay. They suspect a spill, says Christian. A spill of what? I ask. They give me a funny look. Probably this is a dumb question. Fuel, right? But I read a story once of a molasses spill, and another where a container ship dumped Nikes all over the coast of Washington. I could use a new pair of shoes. Jules shrugs. I guess we'll find out. Coffees? Coming up. Soon, the 9 a.m. rush shoves aside my thoughts of the tanker. The other staff clock in and get to work. I'm taking orders and clearing dishes and wiping spills and refilling coffees and brewing more and running back to the window every time Cesar rings the bell. All smiling. At the end of the day, my cheeks will be sore. Bertha's vibe is small town and quaint, like a place frozen in time. Except that we've changed immensely. Now that tourists from Boston and beyond have discovered the town, we charge them as much as we can get away with for muffins and scrambles. No one local comes anymore. The tourists take photos with the lobster traps on the ceiling. Our hollandaise is made from a powder. I have sworn Cesar to secrecy. The owner lives out of town, cheaper for him that way, and only comes by every month or so to check on things. I tried a few other things, driving deliveries and dinghy tours of the port. But with tips, I make as much as my friend who teaches elementary school, and she has student debt and a master's. With rents going up, Bertha's is enough to keep me afloat, barely. Around 10 a.m., we hear sirens and see red flashing lights through Bertha's big front glass windows. Everyone pauses for a moment to watch, forks hovering over their plates. Then we all go back to our roles. I laugh at the tourist jokes and give them directions from their Airbnb to the beach access. No lobster? The customer at table 8 gestures past me with his menu towards the specials chalkboard. He sounds affronted. Sorry, all out, I say. What I don't say is that our coast is one of the fastest warming places on the planet. Tourists don't want to hear all that. It's a downer. We'd love to serve lobster, but locally caught are rare and expensive. I can't even remember the last time I had a lobster roll. It'd be like eating dollar bills. Nothing tastes that good. But our special Benedict today is fiddleheads. Fiddleheads? What's that? Local specialty, I say. Imagine asparagus. Delicious. Seasonal and grown locally. Organic? Of course. On the specials board, I've drawn fiddleheads as little green swirls, like the tentacles of a sea monster. Sure, why not? He leans into his wife. Something exotic. I smile. I hope he thinks I'm laughing with him. Fiddleheads are a fern. They look fancy. I think they taste nasty, bitter and slimy. But they make for a great Instagram photo. Green swirl peeking out from underneath a yellow yolk. Proof someone went on a trip. In season, we can get fiddleheads for cheap. $15 a pound, then drizzle some hollandaise and smoked paprika on them and charge that much for a single plate. No local would pay that much for a fiddlehead. They'd laugh in your face. Fiddleheads are a shibboleth. Cesar taught me that word last week. He's studying for his SATs. Is Bertha around? The customer asked. She's out today, I say. Just missed her. As far as I know, there never was a Bertha. The closest thing we have is the mascot hanging on our wooden sign above the door, a crusty mermaid holding a carved spatula flipping some bacon. Her paint is chipping. Bertha's closes at 3. I want to go see the tanker, but an exasperating party walks in the door around 2:50. They take their time, they order mimosas. I'm finally rid of them around 4. Half an hour later, I split the tips and wave bye to Cesar. See you tomorrow. Same thing over again. By the time I'm finally free to bike over to the wreck, most everyone has left. The tanker is still in the water, a little off kilter, a little too nestled in the rocks. There are wide, thin nets trying to keep in what? Some contaminants I can't see. It smells like cinnamon and paint thinner. Next to me, a seagull coughs. I didn't even know they could do that. Everything is poisoned, probably. The rocks, the air, the water. Sayonara to the few lobsters that are left. That seagull's days are numbered. There's the WMUR news van filming some footage for the evening news. I get a funny idea and I swing my bike and my body into their shot, between the camera and the tanker in the background. I start waving my arms in the same slow rhythm of the sailors from earlier that morning. Swish, swish, swish. I don't know why I do this. Just, I have this idea that the sailors might be watching. I picture them in the ER, wrapped in those thin silver blankets they give marathoners and bombing victims, here in this cruel foreign country where no one speaks their language. I want them to know that I remember them, that I'm worried about them. While I'm waving, I hear the reporter mention the yacht. A yacht in the shipping lane. He says the tanker swerved to avoid the yacht, and boom. That's what caused the wreck and the spill of Lord knows what, a fucking yacht. Just a playground to the tourists, but we live here. It's our livelihood and our home. Most of my friends from high school have already been priced out. I'm barely hanging on. I get jittery with anger, but what am I going to do? There's no bad guy to fight. I just keep waving. Up and down, up and down. The reporter tries to scare me away, but I bike a little further and keep waving. Swish, swish, swish. I won't let them get a clean shot. They'll have to use what they got. Soon the tanker is towed away. On TV, local marine biologists are concerned, and local environmental activists are enraged. But mostly, life goes back to normal. We won't know the long-term effects till the news stories slow. I add the yacht and the crash and the spill to my register of simmering offenses. I go back to my routines. Except on one of my morning rides into Bertha's, I do see something along the ocean road. Around 5:20, a black van with no windows is parked with its back to the water. A couple of men on walkie-talkies are standing next to the van with their ties blowing in their faces. They are watching scuba divers in fancy all-black gear walk backwards into the water, step, 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 carefully over the slippery rocks. I keep biking. No time to stop, but I do glance over at them. The divers sink under. I'm happy. Someone is going to do something to fight the spill, to look after the waters. As I pass right by them, I can see into the van, a little, just for a second. I see a spear gun, as tall as me. The image lodges in my brain like a splinter, but I can't be late. I'm the one with the keys to Bertha's, and there's no way I'll leave Cesar waiting for me in the alley. Every once in a while, as summer's beachcombers turn into fall's leaf peepers, I think again of the tanker and the spill and the sailors and the strange van. But it's not till winter, when the town empties out and business slows, that Cesar and I go to the shore together. All Cesar's studying paid off. He got his scholarship to UNH. But every weekday, he's still at Bertha's frying eggs. He's got to save up for books and food and housing. One of those weekend days is so unbelievably slow that we've already sent the dishwasher home. We make pyramids out of the red plastic cups, up to 6 levels high before they tumble down. I wash the front windows and Cesar cleans behind the stove, all the bottom of the list tasks. Cesar films us taking shots of hot sauce and horseradish, and we stand in the kitchen counting the likes and reading the comments to each other. Still, no customers. Can we get out of here? Cesar asks. Well, why not? We're not making any real money today. I write "Gone Fishing" on the back of a paper placemat and tape it to the front door. We grab our jackets. Cesar stands on the back of my bike. It's not far to the shore. At first, I was embarrassed to tell him I didn't have a car, but he's always been cool about it. Very eco-conscious of you, he says. We find a cove to hide us from the road and settle in to watch the lapping waves against the rock and smoke blunts for a while. It is overcast and chilly, but that means no one else is around. Our cove shields us from the wind. I sit far away enough from Cesar to make it clear that I'm not hitting on him or trying to get him too high or anything. I've met enough creeps in my life to be wary of acting like them. Cesar's clever enough, I hope, to avoid the traps I fell into, to get out of this town. Clever enough that if he's choosing to spend this free day in my company, then maybe I'm not so bad after all. The weed is kicking in, and I'm having all these nice syrupy thoughts. Despite the cold, it is cozy, nestled into the rocks. I'm thinking that the way Cesar trusts me makes me want to earn that trust, to be a better type of person. Cesar doesn't think I'm a fuck-up. I'm getting dangerously close to saying this corny shit out loud to Cesar, so I look out at the water instead. Hold up, Cesar says. He points over my shoulder. I turn around. It's just a lobster on the rock above and beside me. Little buddy must be stoned too, I say. That makes Cesar laugh. It's not normal to see one so close or so far away from the tide. Hey, there's another. I point to a rock in the distance. A lobster is waving its antennae around and looking a little lost. Like one of those magic eye pictures, now that I've seen 2, I see them everywhere. What I notice first is all the antennae, each attached to its own lobster, tapping out the same beat, like a metronome, up and down in sync. There must be 20, no, 40, more. We are surrounded. Some are between us and the bike, which I left back up near the road. Some are near and some are far. Every third rock or so has a lobster on it, blue black and chunky, gnarled, the same color and slickness as the rocks around them. And those antennae, bouncing along to some beat they can hear that we don't, some lobster frequency. I thought the ones that were left had died off after the spill, Cesar says. He is staring out at them and frowning. He starts rubbing his hands, like to warm them, in the same rhythm as the antennae. Does he notice? Not these ones, I say. I guess not. Maybe they're special. Hey, man, don't fuck with it, I tell Cesar, but he is already bending down to pick up the closest one by the tail. Maybe I'm high, maybe I'm paranoid, but my stomach clenches. Cesar is smart, but I have a feeling that this is a real dumb idea. I just want a closer look, he says. The lobster Cesar is reaching for is just sitting there twitching. Then it scurries, but not away. Toward Cesar. Wrong again. Something is wrong. On every rock, the lobsters start moving at the same time. One single lobster crawling on a rock barely makes a sound, but all of them at once is loud, close, and fast. Next thing I know, my pants and sleeves are heavy and wet. I stand up and lobsters are swinging from my clothes by their pinchers. I'm kicking and shaking while I scramble on the rocks towards Cesar. I don't want them to touch my bare hands or face. Cesar is a step ahead of me, rushing out of the cove and back toward the bike. In his rushing, he missteps. He catches himself with his hands against the rocks, doesn't hit his head, but the lobsters crawl onto his arms from all sides, over each other. I slap one off his shoulder. I hoist him back on his feet. Another one is climbing up his leg. Fuck. I grab it by its tail and fling it back towards the water. We've got to get away. We can't keep swatting at them. There's too many. For every one we fight off, 3 more crawl up behind it. We have to run. Go, I yell to Cesar. If we can make it to the bike, we'll be out of here. We can't stop moving, even to shrug them off. They're acting like a swarm, like ants or bees, coordinated attack. Their carapaces crunch, sturdy under my sneakers. From a distance, we must look mad, high-stepping and kicking and flailing our arms, trying to shake them off, wave after wave. Thank God for the bike. When I throw one leg over, there are still some lobsters hanging off of me, but I start pushing my weight into the pedals. Get on! Cesar doesn't need convincing. He's on, hugging my shoulders and panting. We take off, still hauling a half-dozen lobsters, clinging to us like ugly brooches. I push us into the cold wind, away from that cove. I don't look back, but Cesar does. They're still coming. For real? They won't catch us, but they're coming. None of this is how lobsters act. As soon as the cove and swarm are out of sight, I pull over under some bare trees. I rip off my jacket. It's frigid, and my arms and legs are wet, but I can't stand to have those things on me one more second. Fuck was that? Cesar asks me. We're still on the bicycle. My jacket is squirming on the ground where they, 2 of them, are trapped in the folds. I step off my bike, willing myself to go toward them. I raise my boot to stomp the whole situation, but Cesar says, wait. What? Just a minute. So I wait. The jacket and what's inside it twitch on the ground. A clueless car rips past. We catch our breath. Cesar convinces me to bring the bundle of freak lobsters and jacket back to Bertha's for a test. They're weird, right? He says. Yeah, but I don't want to touch them. I'll hold them, he says, and he does, cradling my wet jacket the whole way back, tight. Back at Bertha's, Cesar sets up these experiments while I brew the coffee. We dump one in a cardboard box and another in a trash bin, a room apart. When he kicks the trash can, the one in the box shudders. Some strange solidarity. Cesar's looking at it like a scientist, but I'm staring at the lobster in the box on the floor of our kitchen, and a different idea comes to me. What do you think it tastes like? I ask. What are you going to do? Try some? Cesar says. No, not me. We bested them once. We could do it again. Cesar is frowning. thinking. I fill the quiet. The brunch crowd. It won't hurt anybody. Probably. Finally, Cesar says, these lobsters are doing fine. Better even than before. Right. Like super lobster. A health food. It takes us a few weeks, but we figure it out. We go back to the cove. I've never seen them anywhere else, but we find them at the cove every time. We try the lobster traps from the ceiling once, but that doesn't work without a boat. Eventually, we figure out a way to swoop a dozen of them on a single trip. We use my bike and some gear from Bertha's: milk crate, kitchen trash bag, broom. Cesar hangs off the back of my bike. He holds tight to the trash bag, which squirms with a sickly rhythm like one big heartbeat. At Bertha's, we store them in the basement, each in its own bucket of cold water, each with something heavy on top, a crate of tomatoes or a sack of potatoes. By summer, we've got it down to a routine, a new routine, one that makes the world seem bigger, not smaller. Lobsters back on the menu at Bertha's. I slip down into the basement to pull one from its bucket. All of them snap at me in lazy unison, their mystical beat. Upstairs, I pass it to Cesar. He stabs it in the middle of the forehead. Once it's cooked, white and pink and covered in butter and hollandaise, you'd never know it was any different. I sprinkle some parsley on top and head out onto the floor. It's only 10:30. We've already sold 14 plates of the lobster Benedict at $19.99 a plate before any tip, and we aren't paying a cent for the meat. We're making a killing, pure profit, under the table. We're catching the lobsters ourselves. The owner doesn't know a thing about it. We're pocketing the profit, Cesar's idea. He said to me, those things you want from me, I want them for you too, man. So we're splitting it 50-50, the extra work and the extra profit. There's no deliveries to check off. Everything's off the books. Cesar will have his college fund and then some. I'm saving to get out. That's as far as I know. Bertha's isn't forever anymore. No one retches, no one shivers, no one's eyes roll back in their head. Only, I swear to Cesar later, as we're closing up shop that day, there was this moment when everyone who ordered the special reached for their napkin. They unfolded it slowly, 1, 2, 3, and wiped their mouths left to right. Then they set it back down on their lap, all at once, in perfect unison. The end.
Yeah. Oh, that's creepy. Oh, I'm thinking about how this is going to change society. I think they're all going to end up on charges, though, because they're all going to be trading the exact same stocks from their portfolio at the exact same time. You know, some of these people are hedge fund managers.
Yeah, imagine the trends.
Yeah. And eventually someone's going to get busted for it, you hope. Scary. Oh, oh, thank you. Well, it's our way at Story Hour to take a break, quick break in between our two readers, just to do a little mental reset, take in a deep breath, enjoy the smells of the lobster, and ready ourselves for the next writer. Everyone, that was Marguerite Sheffer. Thank you very much. And our next reader tonight is Jennifer Brozek. Jennifer Brozek is an award-winning author, editor, and tie-in writer. A Secret Guide to Fighting Elder Gods, Never Let Me Sleep, and The Last Days of Salt and Academy were finalists for the Bram Stoker Award. She was awarded the Scribe Award for Best Tie-in Young Adult Novel for Battletech, The Nellis Academy Incident, and for Shadowrun Auditions. Grants Pass won an Australian Shadows Award for Best Edited Publication. A two-time Hugo finalist for Best Editor Short Form and a finalist for the British Fantasy Award, Jennifer is an active member of SIFWA, HWA, and IAMTW. She keeps a tight writing and editing schedule and credits her husband, Jeff, with being the best sounding board ever. Visit Jennifer's world at jenniferbrozek.com or her social media accounts on Linktree. Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you. Oh my God, that was so good. What a beautiful slow burn. Well done. Well, mine's going to be a completely different tone.
Awesome.
So I'm going to do a very short flash, a short story, then a very short flash, and I'm very much into the supernatural horror. That is what I like to do. So we will begin. This first story is called 7 Steps to Immortality, and it was published on Daily Science Fiction. 7 Steps to Immortality. 1. Seek. I, Thaddeus Galway IV, am immortal. I didn't start out that way. I was mortal, human, like everyone else until my 25th birthday. Then I had a mortal moment, and I realized I was going to die, that I was going to cease to exist someday. From that moment on, I did everything in my power to become immortal. Thus, my first step was to seek what I desired. 2. Health. In my earliest years, I sought immortality through clean living and healthy eating. Never did an illicit drug or indulgent wine pass through my lips. I exercised, I took my vitamins, I continued to study and learn, exercising my mind as much as my body. My second step was to keep what I had been born with in the best shape it could be in. 3. Robotic replacement. Despite my best efforts, my body got old. When my body refused to do what my mind thought it should be capable of, I turned to the newest form of preservation: robotic enhancement, then robotic replacement. It was a joy to be able to run and fight and fuck again, even if the sensations were simulated. This was the third step on my journey. 4th, total digital upload. In essence, I became a brain in a mechanical chassis. And my problem inverted itself. While my body, mechanical marvel that it was, could perform spectacular tasks, my mind, my brain, the part that made me who I am, still aged. With technology far beyond what I'd been born to, I decided that the only way to save me was a total digital upload, to become more than the sum of my parts. This 4th step was not taken lightly. 5. Meat replacement. The digital world was beyond what I could put into words. There were vistas out there that astounded and entertained me. And yet, I could not shake the thought that one bad day, one blackout, one faulty UPS could end me. To mention the small fact that I no longer had any bodily sensations, and what I remembered became suspect. Despite my freedom, I took the 5th step and commissioned a meat replacement body. I took possession of a young man of exquisite health and beauty. 6. Seek the myths and legends. As much as I reveled in being a young man again and rediscovering the joys of the flesh, I'd come full circle. The body was healthy and spry, but it still aged. Upon possession of my 3rd replacement body, 2 male, 1 female, I decided enough was enough. I needed to find true life eternal. My 6th step was to seek out the original sources of all of the enduring stories about immortality. 7. Luck. I discovered the fountain of youth had gone dry, the philosopher's stone stolen, mermaid flesh a lie, cinnabar and gold undigestible, and the chalice of Christ required a belief and devotion that I could not adhere to, even if it was anything more than a PR stunt. I could never tell. My 7th and final step to immortality was nothing more than pure dumb luck. I came across the lamp in an abandoned cave and rubbed it to a shine. When the genie appeared and offered me 3 wishes, it should have been a warning that she gave me no rules. I demanded immortality. She merely smiled. We changed places that day. She took my body. I took her place. I've watched that once exquisite body decay into bones and then into dust as I've waited for the next adventurer to come along. I am Thaddeus Galway IV, and I am immortal. One of those be careful what you wish for. So I must warn you that this next short story has a content warning. There is on-screen torture of the cutting and stabbing of a woman's leg. So listeners' discretion is advised. And this story, it's called A Test of Vigilance and Will, is in Wiley Writers Presents Tales of Foreboding Anthology. A Test of Vigilance and Will. I remember someone once said that being a telepath was like living in a hotel with very thin walls. You could always hear the movements and mutterings of people next door, and if you concentrated, you could make out what they were saying or doing, but you could never, ever completely shut it out. These words floated to Maria as she opened her eyes. She was confused, yet not yet panicked. She recognized the voice, Katie, a fellow test subject. Recognition turned into fear as pain registered in her bound form. She lay on her back, arms and legs numb with disuse, and tied to each corner of the bed. Her gagged mouth throbbed with pain. Where your face hit the table, she realized. What was in that drink? All around her, she saw beige walls, white ceiling, generic art. A hotel room. I used to think whoever said that was either an author trying to portray an angsty character or someone who is just a wet blanket and no fun to be around anyway. I've always thought that being able to hear the private thoughts of others would be so interesting and provocative. Katie turned the corner of the short passageway out of the bathroom area. I know you're awake. I saw you move in the mirror. Marie watched Katie and the scalpel in the woman's hand. While she was moments from panic, Marie knew Katie had already sped past crazy and was on her way to lunacy. It was the look in the woman's eye and in the tone of her voice. Katie walked to the opposite wall of the bed and put her ear to it, closing her eyes. I go to hotels just like this one, so I can listen to the voices through the walls, just so I can feel what it's like to be telepathic. Special, blessed. I spend days here, just listening. And sometimes I actually forget that I'm listening with my ears and not my mind. Those moments are worth everything in this world to me. Katie opened her eyes, looking at and then through Marie. Can you understand that? Of course you can. You're special. That's why I've chosen you for my transformation. That's why I know it'll work this time. Marie tugged on her bonds and made small help-me whimpering noises through the gag in her mouth. Please don't do whatever you're thinking. Have a change of heart. Let it be too real, too visceral for you, please. She threw these wordless pleas at the woman, hoping against hope that it would help. The panic crept up her body, threatening to overwhelm her. She could not let that happen. Not again. She remembered what happened the last time the panic took over. They're having sex next door. It's a little rough, passionate, and they've been going at it for hours. I've listened to them while you were asleep. Katie focused in on Marie's face, seemed to see her as an actual person instead of a thing. She smiled. I've been waiting for them and for you to be ready. Now we can begin. She walked over to the nightstand next to the bed and held up the scalpel. I know you're special, Marie. I'm not yet. I know I had the potential for greatness. I just need someone like you to help me, to push me over the edge. Kitty lowered the blade until it hovered above Marie's face. We have the same birthday. Did you know that? We're practically twins, psychic twins. Just another reason I know it's you who will transform me into what I'm supposed to be. Marie shook her head back and forth, her eyes on the scalpel. No, don't do this. Yanking on her bonds harder, the pressure grew in her head, familiar and hungry. She tried to stop it. The panic was stronger. Katie stroked Marie's face with a gentle hand. Shh. It'll only hurt until you tell me to stop. Marie made frantic, muffled noises through the gag, trying to shout the word stop at Katie, but nothing got through the fabric. No, you have to do it right. You have to tell me without speaking aloud. I'm tired of listening through hotel walls. It's not good enough anymore. You have to tell my mind. I have to hear it in my head. You have to make me telepathic. Katie's soothing voice rose into a shout, then dropped again. I know you can do it. I stole the score sheets from the study. I know you have a 71% accuracy rate. You're special. I only have a 49% accuracy rate no matter what I do. I'm normal and I can't stand it. You're going to change me and you're going to do it right now. Marie closed her eyes and wished with all her might she had not volunteered for the brain study. It was the first psychic one she'd done. It might be her last. At the start, it was boredom and curiosity that drew her to the various college mental studies, autism, perception, memory, so many more. Then the ability to tell the world her secret without saying a word was worth everything. It was a way to be immortalized within the academic journals without revealing who she was to the world. A study. This was the one that was supposed to be a personal test of her willpower, playing with fire, so to speak. Just a simple test of control and knowledge. What did they know? Could they actually find out about Marie and the others? How could she mess with the numbers? It was just a private game. One she'd played over and over and over. There was a thrill of the chase and the enticement of the forbidden. No one, not even her family, knew she was here. The personal test had become so much more. The professor's thesis had been straight out of the movies. A scientifically administered psychic study with the response changes based on positive and negative stimuli for correct or incorrect responses, respectively. For some reason, most of the people in the study became more accurate the greater the negative stimuli was for the wrong answers. Everyone had been amazed at the results. At the end of the study, the professor asked 3 people to do a second run, focused on negative stimuli. Katie as the control, since her accuracy numbers had not changed with negative stimulus for errors or positive stimulus for the correct answers. Jonas, because his accuracy numbers had dropped the more than negative the error stimulus was. Marie, because her numbers had jumped. That was the part of her control that had slipped. It appeared Katie had stolen this raw data, and looking at the scalpel in her hand, she was determined to have Marie turn her into a telepath using negative stimulus or kill her, whichever came first. Don't do this, Marie begged with her eyes. Don't. I can't go through this again. Please, I don't want to be like I once was. Katie ignored the muted pleas as she slit Marie's pants leg open to the thigh. She paused and gave Marie's shin a small slash. The scalpel was so sharp. It was a moment before the pain hit. Marie whimpered, a muffled whine almost unheard through the fabric gag. I have lots of tools with me, Katie said in that casual, please pass the butter sort of way. I really don't want to hurt you, but I promise I will. Just tell me to stop. Tell me properly, with your mind. Another slash from one, and another near silent sound of pain from the other. Katie opened the nightstand drawer with a jangle of metal on metal and pulled out a steak knife. This one will hurt much more. You'll respond to that. She slashed at Marie's thigh in a crude and clumsy motion, half cutting and half tearing the flesh. Just tell me to stop. I need to hear you. As before, Marie's scream of pain was muffled as she tried and failed to keep control. Something else woke in her panicked mind. The pressure was a presence now. It was coming. Against everything she'd worked for over the years, that part of her mind was almost awake again. She shook her head in frantic negation. Neither Katie nor the beast within listened to Marie's silent cries. Another ragged cut, and the beast swelled with Marie's pain and Katie's impatience. All you have to do is tell me to stop. Your scores say that you'll respond to the negative stimulus within 4 turns. This is number 5. No, 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 please don't do this, no. At this point, Marie wasn't certain who she was pleading with. Katie, or the reawakened beast within, the one she had buried and tried so hard to keep asleep. Katie raised the bloody snake knife. She hovered it over Marie's leg like a chef ready to carve a roast, then tilted her head to the side and put the blade on the nightstand. She held up a bloodied fingertip, then delicately tapped one of the weeping wounds. It seems you need a personal touch. Tell me to stop, Marie. Do it. Stop me. I need to hear you in my head. Tell me to stop. She stabbed her finger deep into the fleshy part of Marie's wounded thigh. The beast took over as Marie screamed again and stopped Katie for good. The beast wasn't an actual separate creature, though she liked to think it was. More sensation than presence. It was built of pure reaction, power, hunger, and defense rolled up in a single movement. Katie flew backwards with the force of the pyrokinetic blast and hit the wall hard. She stayed there, pinned by an unseen force as she burned from her core outward, charring the wall in an unmistakable outline. Fire shoved itself up Katie's throat, cutting off the sounds of her surprised pain as she was immolated from the inside out. The scent of burning flesh smelled like a nearby barbecue joint. Marie's bones burst into flame and turned to ash in a second. She pulled the gag out of her mouth and worked saliva into it. Heat shivered through her body, caressing her skin like the touch of a long-lost lover. This was it, the moment of wanton dread. She could burn this entire building to the ground without a second thought and walk away unscathed. Thought was intoxicating. She could read the whole world in flame. She could stop. She had to stop. Now. There was no choice. She'd already revealed too much of who and what she was. Already those who could feel such things would be looking for the source of power. Already, all she'd worked for, she'd undone. The realization of her immediate danger quelled the beast's hunger, taming it for the moment, taming it until it grew bold and the tug of war for control began again. Katie was already dead by the time Marie tied the pillowcase around her bleeding leg, got herself off the bed, and limped over to the burning corpse. With very little effort, Marie pulled the rest of the flames from around the room back into her body. She sighed with the pleasure of the lingering power, then blew a breath of regret. Well, well, well. I didn't know you had it in you. Congratulations. Marie froze. That voice, Dale's voice, whispered through her head. It had been months since his mind touched hers. It oozed smug contempt as it slithered around her brain. She didn't answer him. She could have, just like she could have answered Katie. But one never knew when one was being observed, mentally or physically. We had a running bet that you would crack and whisper into her head to make her stop. I was on the losing side. I've seen what happens when you panic. Color me impressed. Oh, we wouldn't have let you die. But we wanted to see if you'd learned your lessons on vigilance. You have. It's time for you to come home. You'll be welcome now. We'll be waiting. Despite the charred corpse and the lingering scent of cooked meat, there was very little damage in the hotel room. Marie limped to the closet, found Katie's raincoat, and pulled it on to cover her bloodied leg. She figured the cops would just scratch their collective heads at this one. Eventually, it would become one of those special cases, and spontaneous human combustion would be whispered in the halls of authority as the case was quietly shelved. Marie didn't care. She had bigger problems to worry about. A new scar was one thing. Going home was another. Yes, she was special, even amongst others who were also special. But the beast was awake again, and they both liked to burn. I really like that story. Okay, looking at the time, we still have time. All right, I'm going to end this one on a slightly happier note. And yet there is still a content warning. So, content warning. There is a mention of visceral dental work, and there is the mention of a dead child. So, listeners' discretion be advised. This story, it's called Elevator of the Damned, and it is in one of my short story collections. It's called 5-Minute Stories. Okay. Elevator of the Damned. Nick stood within the silent group of people in the elevator. There were 4 other people, forcing him to stand in the middle. He was already unhappy. No one liked to go to the dentist, especially not for surgery. His stomach roiled at the thought of his gums being cut open and his teeth pulled. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to hide in one of the corners already occupied. The elevator stopped on the 9th floor, and the doors slid open in a herky-jerky manner that didn't inspire confidence. A man stood there. He made no move to get on the elevator. He looked Nick in the eye and said, "Don't you know you're all damned?" As the elevator doors shut, they looked at each other. Nick gave an uncomfortable chuckle. No one said anything as the elevator stopped and he got off, still thinking about the man. He was familiar. Nick didn't know why. He didn't think he had seen the man before. Shaking his head, Nick forgot him and headed to his next appointment. The elevator was crowded, but Nick pushed his way onto it anyway. He was almost late as it was. Hemmed in by people on all sides, he'd never felt more alone. This was it. One window for marriage licenses. One window for divorces. Not that he'd wanted his marriage to end. The thought of losing his wife was a stab to the heart. His stomach twisted and turned, threatening to expel what little he'd eaten. The elevator stopped on the 9th floor. A familiar man stood there. He looked at the crowd. Instead of saying he'd take the next elevator, he said, "Don't you know you're all damned?" No one said a word as the elevator doors shut. Nick scowled. Anger pushed away his loneliness and regret at the end of his marriage. Who the hell was that guy to say something like that? He forced his way to the front of the elevator as it stopped on his floor. Divorced, maybe. Not damned. He stomped away, pushing the thought of the man from his mind. He was already late. The elevator was empty and cold. Nick stepped within. It was as he was already standing in a morgue next to his child. He hugged himself, fighting to keep the tears off his face. He failed. Tears streamed down his cheeks. He was helpless to stop them, just like he was helpless to do anything to make things better for his child. The elevator stopped on the 9th floor and opened. A single man stood there and gazed at Nick in all his tear-stained glory. He made no attempt to get on the elevator. Instead, he looked Nick in the eye and said, "Don't you know you're damned?" The elevator's door slid almost shut. Rage moved Nick. Before he understood what he was doing, his hand shot out and he halted the elevator doors. With the strength he didn't know he had, he forced them open again and stepped out into the hallway. "How dare you?" "No," said the man. "Not I. How dare you?" He smiled now. Nick blinked at him, shocked. Lifetime after lifetime cascaded over him. He shook his head. "I've never been in a car accident. I've never watched my father shoot himself. I've never been married. I don't have children. I've never even had a root canal. What's happening? This isn't my life. I didn't do these things." He hunkered down in the hallway, his hands over his head. The man hunkered next to him. "No, but you've experienced it all. Every terrible thing that anyone has ever thought about in an elevator." His voice was gentle. "Why? Why is this happening?" "Because you believed it needed to happen. And now you believe, somewhere deep inside, you've been punished enough." Nick shook his head. "I don't understand." The man helped him up. "I know. You will. Now that you're ready to let yourself understand and move on, you will." Nick let himself be shepherded down the long corridor of no color and every color. "Am I dead?" "Yes, but that's all right. There's so much more to come." What was the elevator? the hell of your own making. You made it, you designed it, you suffered in it. We are always hardest on ourselves. Nick knew the truth of the words, but not why he'd done it. Who are you? The one who's been waiting for you. It's time to go. There's so much more for you to see. Is it good? I think so. With a lightness he hadn't felt in an eon, Nick nodded. Okay, let's go. I'm ready. And he was. So
Yes,
that was actually based on something that a friend of mine, he literally had that first experience where he was in an elevator, the doors opened, and a man stood there looking at it, and he was like, don't you know you're all damned? And then the door shut.
figures.
And this is Lilu.
Well, hello, Lilu. Are you the fifth element?
She crash landed into our lives, yes.
Yes, yes.
And Mina's up here, but you can't see her.
Well, you know, we've had a lot of wonderful stories, and I can't think of a single one that wasn't improved by a visit from a cat.
Yeah, of course.
And bunnies.
Times it's happened. She's beautiful.
She is a Singapura and she's 14.
Wow.
Wow.
I hope you all enjoyed the different selections of stories.
Yes,
Oh,
I think we've had quite an evening, Daniel.
I'm telling you.
It's great. So yes, it's been a wonderful evening of stories. Thank you both. Daniel and I will be back next week. Next week, our readers are David Marino and Christina Ten. I recommend checking storyhour2020.com the day of the reading for any announcements, any changes. You know, anytime you feel like it, just head on over to the calendar page there and see who's coming up next, and look at the recordings page and go click through, see some you've missed, see some that you'd like to watch again, watch this one as many times as you like. It's all fine. You can also subscribe on YouTube, and then you'll find out about Story Hour as it streams or when a new video posts. So many ways to make sure the stories get to you, because that's what matters. So thank you to our wonderful readers, Marguerite Sheffer, Jennifer Brozek, and to my wonderful co-host, our founder, Daniel Marcus, without whom this Zoom room would be a cold and lonely place, whistling with the emptiness of no stories. And thank you, all of you who are here now in the Zoom, all of you who are watching now on YouTube, all of you watching the recording at some time in the future. As long as we all enjoy these stories, we're all together in the same story hour. Good night.